It starts quietly. A joke that lands a little too sharp, slicing through the air like a paper cut. A text message left on, read for 3 days, while you see them active online. A decision made about your time without asking for your permission. You feel it in your gut first. It is a cold, sinking weight, a biological alarm bell ringing in the ancient part of your brain. But you do what you have been trained to do. You swallow it. You smile. You tell yourself you're taking the high road. You tell yourself it is just a small thing, that you are too sophisticated to be bothered by such pettiness. You are lying to yourself. It matters. It matters more than anything else in your social existence, because disrespect is never an event. It is a process. It is a structural stress test. Criminologists have a concept known as the broken windows theory. It states that if a window in a building is broken and left unrepaired, it signals to the world that no one cares about the building. Soon, more windows are broken, then the graffiti appears. Then the fires start. Your dignity is that building. The moment you tolerate the first broken window, the first interrupt, the first innocent barb, you are signaling to the world that there is no landlord present. You are signaling that the property is abandoned. Every time you stay silent, every time you laugh off a comment that was designed to humiliate you, you are not being nice. You are signing a contract. You are co-signing a document that states your value is negotiable, that your boundaries are merely suggestions, and that you can be walked upon without consequence. You are teaching the algorithm of the people around you how to treat you. And human beings, like electricity, follow the path of least resistance. If disrespecting you costs them nothing, they will do it simply because they can. Machiavelli. The man who mapped the darkest tributaries of human nature understood this centuries ago. He did not write The Prince for people who wanted to be loved or for people who wanted to be morally superior. He wrote it for people who wanted to survive in a world of wolves. He knew that the moment you are perceived as weak, you are already conquered. In the eyes of a predator, hesitation is not a virtue. It is an invitation. When you prioritize being liked over being respected, you hand over your sword. You hope that your defenselessness will inspire mercy. It does not. It inspires contempt. We have a name for this modern disease. We call it the nice guy or the good girl syndrome, but it is actually a form of cowardice masquerading as morality. You're terrified of conflict. You're terrified of the awkward silence. You're terrified that if you stand up for yourself, you will be rejected. So you pay a tax. You pay a tax on your own self-esteem to keep the peace. But whose peace are you keeping? You are keeping their peace at the expense of your own war. There is a physiological cost to this suppression. When you are disrespected, your body mobilizes for action. Cortisol floods your system. Adrenaline sharpens your focus. This is the fight response. When you force yourself to smile and swallow that energy, it does not disappear. It turns inward. It becomes a toxic debt. It rots you from the inside out, turning into resentment, anxiety, and a deep, simmering self-loathing. You become angry at them for doing it, but you are infinitely more angry at yourself for letting it happen. If you are tired of being the one who gives more than they get, if you are tired of feeling invisible in a room full of people who seem to shine so effortlessly, listen closely. We are not here to motivate you. We are not here to tell you that you are special. We are here to perform a surgery on your personality. We are going to locate the part of you that begs for approval, that whimpering child that needs a pat on the head to feel valid. And we are going to kill it. We are going to birth something else in its place, something formidable, something that moves through the world with the weight of gravity. But before we can build the new structure, we must understand the demolition. We must answer the question that haunts you in the middle of the night. The question you are afraid to ask Because you already suspect the terrifying answer. Why do they do it? Why do they target you? And more importantly, what signal are you broadcasting that tells them this one is safe to hunt? There is a psychological trigger you are pulling every single day that invites them to treat you this way. You are doing it right now. You are doing it with your posture, your excessive nodding, and your terrifying availability. We need to find that trigger, and we need to snap it in half. Disrespect is rarely a shout. It is a whisper. It begins small a test. And human beings are at our core efficient predators. We are constantly scanning our environment for hierarchy. It is a biological imperative hardwired into the reptilian brainstem. Who is above me? Who is below me? Who can I use? Who must I fear? Evolutionary psychologists point to Dunbar's number, the cognitive limit to the number of people with whom one can maintain stable social relationships. We do not have the bandwidth to offer deep respect to everyone. Therefore, the brain relies on rapid sorting mechanisms. Within the first 7 seconds of meeting you, a calculation is made. You are categorized. You are either a threat, an equal, or a resource. When someone meets you, whether it is a first date, a new manager, or an old friend re-entering your life, they are subconsciously testing the fence line of your territory. Imagine a stranger walking up to a perimeter fence. They do not tear it down immediately. That would be risky. Instead, they lean on it. They test its structural integrity. They make a small joke at your expense. They show up 10 minutes late without calling. They interrupt your story to tell their own. They are watching. They are waiting. If the fence holds, if you correct them with a look, a silence, or a firm boundary, they back off. They classify you as respected. But if the fence leans, if the wood creaks, if you smile nervously and say, "It's okay, don't worry about it," you have just given them permission to invade. You have signaled that there is no cost to crossing the line. This is the foot-in-the-door technique weaponized against your dignity. Once the small request is granted, the small disrespect tolerated, the psychological barrier to a larger violation is removed. Machiavelli observed that men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. In the modern world, we do not need people to fear for their physical lives. We need them to fear the loss of access to us. When you tolerate a small disrespect, you remove that fear. You become a guarantee. And in the economy of human interaction, a guarantee has zero value. Scarcity creates value. Certainty creates contempt. You are the architect of your own humiliation. You are teaching them that your time is cheap, your feelings are irrelevant, and your boundaries are merely suggestions. Think about the last time you felt small. Maybe it was a meeting. You spoke and someone talked over you. What did you do? Did you stop? Did you apologize? Did you wait for them to finish? In that micro moment, you signaled submission. You signaled that their voice was heavier than yours. This is authority bias in action. We are programmed to defer to those who display markers of dominance, voice depth, unhurried movement, and the willingness to interrupt. When you yield the floor, you are effectively handing them the baton of authority. And the worst part is not what they think of you. It is what you think of yourself. You felt the betrayal. That sinking feeling in your gut is not just embarrassment. It is your soul screaming at you for abandoning it. Disrespect thrives in the gap between your dignity and your fear. You fear conflict. You fear being seen as difficult or high maintenance. You fear that if you stand up for yourself, you will be exiled from the tribe. So you choose the slow poison of disrespect over the sharp pain of confrontation. But Machiavelli warns us, war is not avoided. It can only be postponed to the advantage of others. When you avoid the conflict of setting a boundary today, you're guaranteeing a war against your self-esteem tomorrow. And in that war, you are fighting alone. The fence is down, the predators are inside the perimeter, and they are hungry. So, what do you do? The standard advice is weak. It is the advice of the prey. Tell them how you feel. Use I statements. Communicate your boundaries clearly. No. When you are dealing with someone who disrespects you, you are dealing with a power dynamic, not a therapy session. If you explain your feelings to someone who does not respect you, you're handing them ammunition. You're showing them your soft underbelly. You are confirming that their actions have successfully wounded you. You do not explain. You do not complain. You become the void. Imagine you throw a ball against a wall. It bounces back. You catch it. You throw it again. It is a game. You are engaged. There is a rhythm, a predictable exchange of energy. Now imagine you throw that same ball into a black abyss. It does not bounce back. It does not make a sound. It just vanishes. Do you throw another ball? No. You step back. You're unsettled. You're unsure what is in that darkness. That is the power of non-reaction. This is passive warfare. When someone insults you, they are operating from a script. They expect a specific reaction. They expect you to get angry, which proves they control your emotional state. Or they expect you to retreat to apologize, to scurry away like a frightened animal, which proves they own your space. When you do neither, you break the script. You look at them. You hold eye contact. You do not smile. You do not scowl. You simply observe. You let their words hang in the air like a foul odor. You let the silence stretch until it becomes physically uncomfortable. Not for you, for them. Silence is a mirror. In that vacuum, their insult has nowhere to land, so it reflects back onto them. They hear the pettiness in their own voice. They see the immaturity of their own behavior magnified by your stillness. The psychological pressure builds. This is the Zeigarnik effect weaponized the brain's obsession with unfinished tasks. By refusing to complete the interaction, by refusing to give them the reaction that closes the loop, you create a cognitive itch they cannot scratch. You will see them start to fidget. They will break. They will say, "I was just joking," or "Why are you so serious?" They are scrambling. They are trying to get the ball back. But you do not give it to them. You maintain the information asymmetry. You know exactly what they are doing, but they have no idea what you are thinking. You have entered what Machiavelli calls the position of the prince. The prince does not engage in petty skirmishes in the mud with the peasantry. The prince watches from the balcony. This is not about being passive. It is about being strategic. It is about the conservation of force. Energy is currency. Attention is currency. Why would you pay someone who just tried to rob you? When you withhold your reaction, you are signaling that their opinion of you does not carry enough weight to move you. You are signaling that you are anchored in something deeper than their validation. This is the Stoic concept of apatheia, not a lack of feeling, but an immunity to enslavement by external passions. You are the rock, they are the wave. The wave crashes and breaks. The rock remains wet perhaps, but unmoved. This is the first step to becoming untouchable. You stop feeding the beast. Machiavelli said, "The fox is necessary to recognize traps." Disrespect is often a trap disguised as casual conversation. It is the neg from a manipulator, the backhanded compliment. You're actually smart for someone who didn't go to college. You look good. Have you lost weight? If you take the bait, if you say, "Thank you," or if you get defensive, the trap snaps shut. The fox sees the intention behind the words. You must develop cold empathy. Hot empathy is feeling what they feel, getting swept up in the emotional contagion. Cold empathy is clinical. It is a surgeon looking at a tumor. You understand why they are doing it, usually because they feel their own status is threatened, but you are not infected by it. The secure do not need to belittle. Only the fragile need to stand on someone else's throat to feel tall. When you see the disrespect for what it is, a symptom of their weakness, not a reflection of your worth, it loses its sting. It becomes pathetic. You stop thinking, what is wrong with me? And you start thinking, what is broken in them? This shift in perspective is everything. It takes you out of the victim role and puts you in the analyst role. The fox knows that you cannot fight every battle. If you roar at every dog that barks, you will lose your voice. You must choose where to engage. Sometimes the most savage move is to agree with them. They say, "You're so lazy." You say, "I know, it's a luxury." They say, "You're weird." You say, "Absolutely." This is a technique called fogging. You become like fog. If you throw a stone at a rock, it chips. If you throw a stone at fog, it passes right through. You offer no resistance. You give them nothing to push against. By agreeing with the insult, or rather by refusing to be insulted by it, you disarm them completely. You take the weapon out of their hand and you drop it on the floor. It confuses them. It breaks their frame. They want a fight. You give them nothing. And in that nothingness, you win. But sometimes silence is not enough. Sometimes the wolf is at the door and the lock is breaking. Sometimes the disrespect is not a probe, but an invasion. Machiavelli knew that while the fox is cunning, the lion is necessary to terrify. There are moments when you must show your teeth. Not to bite necessarily, but to remind them that you can. This is where most people fail. They confuse aggression with strength. They scream, they threaten, they make a scene. That is not strength. That is a tantrum. That is a child crying because their toy was taken. True aggression is controlled. It is precise. It is a surgical strike. When a boundary is crossed, repeatedly, silence is no longer an option. Now you must enact a consequence. But here is the Machiavellian key. The consequence must be action, not words. You do not say, "If you do that again, I will leave." You just leave. You do not say, "Stop interrupting me." You stop speaking entirely. Look at them with absolute flatness. Wait for them to finish, and then turn your attention to someone else. You cut them out of the conversation like a tumor. You remove your attention. You remove your presence. Machiavelli wrote, "Men ought either to be well treated or crushed." In a modern context, crushed does not mean physical violence. It means they lose access to the privilege of your time. If you have a friend who constantly flakes on you, you don't write a long paragraph about how it hurts your feelings. You stop inviting them. When they finally reach out, you're busy. Not fake busy to play a game, but actually busy building a life that doesn't depend on them. You effectively kill the version of the relationship where they get to disrespect you. This is painful. It requires you to be willing to lose people. And that is why so many of you are stuck. You are not willing to walk away. You are holding on to the scraps of a relationship because you are terrified of the void. But you must understand this. You cannot negotiate respect with a terrorist. And anyone who holds your self-worth hostage is a terrorist to your soul. If you're not willing to walk away, you have no leverage. None. The lion does not bluff. The lion does not negotiate its own existence. The lion marks its territory. And if you cross it, there is a price to pay. That price is your absence. Scarcity creates value. This is the fundamental law of economics applied to social dynamics. Diamonds are valuable because they are rare. Oxygen is free, but if I take it away from you for 2 minutes, you will trade everything you own for a single breath. Machiavelli understood that familiarity breeds contempt. If you're always available, always present, always replying, instantly your value drops. You become part of the furniture. You become a utility, not a luxury. When you have been disrespected, your immediate instinct is often to try harder to win them back, to prove you are worthy to fix it. Do the opposite. Withdraw. This is not the silent treatment. The silent treatment is manipulative. It is done to provoke a reaction. I'm talking about strategic withdrawal. This is done for your protection and recalibration. You pull your energy back into your own center. You stop initiating. You stop sharing your inner world. You become a surface, polite professional, but impenetrable. You treat them like a stranger. There is a coldness to this unnecessary coldness. It is the chill of the empty fort strategy described by Sun Tzu. You open the gates, you hide your soldiers, and you sit calmly playing the lute. The enemy approaches, sees the open gates, and is terrified. They suspect a trap. Ambiguity is more terrifying than a direct threat because the human mind rushes to fill the void with its worst fears. When you withdraw your warmth, they feel the chill. They realize that the warmth was a gift, not a right. And suddenly, the dynamic shifts. This is operant conditioning. You're extinguishing the behavior by removing the reward. The reward was your attention. Now that it is gone, they are left with the consequences of their actions. They start to pursue you. Is everything okay? You've been quiet lately. Do not rush back in. Let them sit in the cold. Let them realize that your presence is something that must be earned. This requires you to have a life outside of them. You must have a mission, a purpose, a kingdom of your own. If your entire world revolves around one person, a partner, a boss, a parent, you are vulnerable. You are a satellite orbiting their planet. If they push you away, you drift into dark space. But if you are the sun, if you have your own gravity, then their disrespect does not move you. You simply burn on. Build your fortress. Build your skills. Build your body. Build your bank account. Build your mind. When you know that you can survive and thrive without them, you become dangerous. You become free. And a free person is impossible to disrespect because a free person can always leave. Now, we go deeper. We leave the external world of tactics and enter the dark room of the mind. We have talked about how to handle the enemy at the gate, but the brutal truth, the Machiavellian truth, is that the gate was unlocked from the inside. You are being disrespected because on some fundamental frequency, you believe you deserve it. You operate with a disrespect baseline. Think of it like a thermostat in your subconscious. If you were raised in a chaotic home, or if you have a history of trauma where your boundaries were routinely violated, your thermostat is set to tolerance. You're comfortable with a certain level of abuse. It feels familiar. It feels like home. When someone treats you with high-value respect, you get suspicious. You sabotage it. But when someone treats you with low-grade contempt, you lean in. You try to fix them. You try to earn their love. You're chemically addicted to the struggle. You have to reset the thermostat. You have to build what the Stoics called the inner citadel, a fortress inside your mind that no one can enter without your permission. But a fortress is not built with affirmations. It is built with bricks of evidence. This begins with the most critical relationship of your life, the one you have with yourself. If you disrespect yourself, if you break promises to yourself, if you eat garbage, if you procrastinate, if you look in the mirror and think insults, why would you expect anyone else to treat you differently? You are broadcasting your self-worth on a frequency that everyone can hear. This is the halo effect in reverse. When you walk into a room, your micro-expressions, your tone of voice, the way you hold space, it all tells a story. Is the story, please like me, or is the story, I am here? To kill disrespect, you must first kill the weak version of yourself. the version that needs validation like a drug. You must fast from validation. Stop asking people what they think. Stop fishing for compliments. Stop apologizing for taking up space. Start keeping promises to yourself. If you say you're going to the gym, you go. If you say you're going to work, you work. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you lay a brick in the inner citadel. You build self-trust. And when you trust yourself, when you respect yourself, other people's disrespect feels disgusting. It doesn't feel familiar anymore. It feels like a violation of natural law. You reject it instantly, reflexively, like touching a hot stove. You don't have to try to set boundaries. Your existence is the boundary. But to truly secure the citadel, we must address the shadow. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist, taught that we all have a shadow, the dark, repressed side of our personality. It contains your aggression, your selfishness, your capacity for violence, and your will to power. You have been socialized to hide your shadow. You have been taught to be good, to be nice, to be harmless. But a harmless man is not a good man. A harmless man is a weak man. A harmless man is a rabbit. A rabbit cannot be virtuous because it has no choice but to run. A good man is a dangerous man who has his danger under voluntary control. To handle disrespect, you must integrate your shadow. You must be in touch with your capacity for malevolence. You need to know that you could hurt them, that you could destroy their reputation with a sentence, that you could be cruel, but you choose not to be. That is where your confidence comes from. Not from being harmless, but from being a monster who has chosen to be civilized. Nietzsche spoke of the will to power. It is the fundamental drive of all living things to assert themselves, to grow, to overcome resistance. When you suppress this drive to be polite, it turns into poison. It turns into passive aggression. It turns into the sneaky, manipulative behavior of the weak. When you integrate the shadow, you walk differently. People can smell it. It has a scent. It smells like danger. It smells like someone who cannot be manipulated. And interestingly, it attracts the right kind of people. It attracts people who want to meet you at your level, not people who want to drag you down to theirs. When you know you have a sword, you don't need to wave it around. You can keep it in the sheath. But people know it is there. They see the hilt. This is the Machiavellian paradox. Si vis pacem para bellum. If you want peace, prepare for war. If you are incapable of aggression, your kindness is just submission. It is a fraud. If you are capable of aggression but choose kindness, that is virtue. Stop trying to be a saint. Be a warrior in a garden. When someone disrespects you, they are essentially checking to see if you have a sword. If they see you are unarmed, if they see you are incapable of conflict, they will take everything from you. They will take your time, your energy, and your spirit. Show them the hilt. Show them that you are choosing peace, but you are not afraid of war. Let's pause. We have dissected the anatomy of the insult, the biology of the predator, and the architecture of the void. But knowledge without accounting is merely entertainment. I want you to think about the cost. What has your tolerance cost you? It has cost you sleep staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., replaying conversations where you should have spoken up. It has cost you the respect of your children who watch how you let people treat you and learn their own place in the hierarchy through your submission. It has cost you money because you didn't ask for the raise, you didn't negotiate the deal, you didn't demand your worth. It has cost you love because you stayed with someone who treated you like an option, convincing yourself that your loyalty would eventually be rewarded. Disrespect is a thief. It steals your future. Every time you swallow your truth, you are swallowing poison. That poison accumulates. It settles in the joints, in the gut, in the heart. It turns into resentment. It turns into depression. Depression is often just anger with nowhere to go. It turns into illness. The body keeps the score. You cannot afford to be disrespected anymore. It is too expensive. The price is your life. Are you willing to pay that price just to keep the peace? Whose peace are you keeping theirs? Because you certainly aren't keeping yours. You're setting yourself on fire to keep them warm. Stop it. Let them freeze. The ultimate goal is not just to handle disrespect. It is to transcend it. There comes a level of self-mastery where the opinions of others truly, deeply do not matter. This is the state of the outlier. The outlier understands the distinction between the actor and the character. The Stoics viewed life as a play. You have a role to play, a father, a boss, a friend. But you are not the role. When someone insults you, they are insulting the character, not the actor. They are yelling at the costume. When you realize this, when you truly understand it, you become free. You see human beings not as villains, but as sophisticated machines running outdated software. They are projecting their own reality onto you. When someone calls you arrogant, it is because they feel small. When someone calls you selfish, it is because they want to use you, and you are not letting them. You are just a screen they are projecting their movie onto. Nietzsche distinguished between master morality and slave morality. Slave morality is defined by resentment. The slave waits for an apology. The slave wants the oppressor to admit they were wrong. The slave's entire sense of self is tied to how they are treated by the master. Master morality is self-defined. The master does not wait for an apology that will never come. The master creates their own values and moves on. This is the victory. Not that they stop trying to disrespect you. They might never stop. The world is full of broken people. The victory is that you stop caring. You stop needing them to be different. You accept reality as it is, and you move through it with the grace of a predator and the wisdom of a sage. You become the lion and the fox. You become the eye of the storm. The chaos spins around you. The insults fly. The drama swirls. But you are still. And in that stillness, you find a power that no shout, no insult, and no betrayal can ever touch. So here is your mission for the next 7 days. Observe. Be the fox. Notice every time someone crosses a line. Notice every time you feel the urge to apologize when you did nothing wrong. Notice every time you shrink to fit into a room. Don't judge it. Just see it. And then pick one small battle. One moment where you would usually fold. And hold. Hold the silence. Hold the gaze. Hold the boundary. Watch what happens. Watch the shock in their eyes. Watch the shift in the energy. And feel the surge of power returning to your body. It begins with one moment. One choice. One act of refusal. You have the map. You have the weapon. The question is, do you have the will? Machiavelli wrote. Everyone sees what you appear to be few. Experience what you really are. Show them who you really are. Not by speaking louder, but by refusing to be moved. The path to sovereignty is a steep mountain. Most people die at base camp complaining about the weather. You're climbing. The air is thinner up here. It is colder. It is lonely. But the view is clarity. You see who people really are. And more importantly, you see who you really are. You are not the victim of your story. You are the author. And the author has the power to write a new character. A character who commands respect not by demanding it, but by embodying it. The world will adjust to you. It always does. The strong determine the atmosphere. The weak adapt to it. Be the weather. Disrespect is a question. Are you weak? Your response must be the answer. No, you do not need to shout it. Your life should be the answer. Your posture should be the answer. Your absence should be the answer. We have walked through the valley of the shadow. We have dissected the insult. We have armed the mind. Now you must go back into the world. The wolves are waiting. Let them wait. You are ready. If this opened your eyes, understand this is only what I can show publicly. There are videos I cannot upload for everyone. There are aspects of dark psychology that I simply cannot discuss on YouTube without being censored or demonetized. The algorithm suppresses the most powerful information because it is dangerous to the status quo. Those videos exist behind the join button. If you're still here, you are not like the others. Subscribe if you haven't. But if you want what is hidden, click the join button and step into the architect level. You will unlock exclusive uncensored videos that dive into the deepest parts of the human psyche, the techniques of elite manipulation, the shadow work that breaks you down to build you up in the forbidden philosophy that rules the world. Most won't. That's the point. See you on the inside.